What's going on, everyone? It's GeneralTarheel bringing you the APA Season 6 Week 17 build for ScottyDrPepper and the Houston Rocketots. Now, after Week 6, we played Matt Archer and the Tennessee Trevenants, and we did get that nice win. We did have to play him twice because he brought an illegal set. Sadly for Archer, that did cost him a win, considering he had one in the first place. But now we are sitting at 3-3 with a +6 differential, doing pretty well. And we are facing ScottyDrPepper. He is 0-5. He has not had his Week 6 battle yet. He did not get around with Dylan about it, and the commissioners gave him an extension. So right now he's just sitting at 0-5. As you can see, he has an amazing draft, and unfortunately it doesn't look like he's been able to use it as well. I know he's a busy man, so it might not be as strong preps, or he's just not feeling the battles. Because I know Scotty's still a good player, so we still got to give it all versus team. And for his draft, we first off have his totem pick Manetric. This was so no one could Mega Manetric, basically. He just wanted to screw everyone over. And then next up is Mega Aggron. Very strong with that great filter ability. You got the bulky Tapu Fini. You got the Infernape, Latias, Mamoswine, Umbreon, Roserade, Aerodactyl, Stoutland, Dusclops, and Vivillon. Looking at his team, it's very bulky between the Mega Aggron, Tapu Fini, Latias, Umbreon, Dusclops, and even special defensively for the Roserade. So that's something to look at. And he's got good speed tiers between the Infernape, the Latias, the Manetric, and the Aerodactyl. And he's got pretty good attackers. The Mamo's ridiculous, of course, and Infernape's very good himself. Kind of lacks on the special attacking side, even though Latias can technically make up for that, but in my opinion he's still somewhat lax in it. But he's got a very good draft, and it was kind of hard to work around a little bit, mainly just one Pokemon. But first off, I went ahead and built him a defensive Tapu Fini. This would be like a man answer to Gigalith, Excadrill, etc. So this way you can come in on those offensive threats, eat it up, and then threaten me out with its super effective Surf. It doesn't need to run Scald because Misty Surge gives it the Misty Terrain, which there's no status involved, so you don't really need to run Scald because you're not really going to get the burn. Some other Pokemon might run it, but Tapu Fini, since whenever it comes in, it comes up, unless it's already up on the field, there's never really a point when Tapu Fini is going to get status up on something or against it, just about. Unfortunately, it only gets regen with leftovers. Tapu Fini, I just have down the Moonblast in case he has to hit the Cure in Black. Defog, so he can get rid of hazards on his side, because he has no Rapid Spin on his team, which is very important. I already mentioned the Surf, and then the Nature's Madness. This is in just case my answer is, say, my Lodic or Reuniclus. It would force me to get off a Recover with my Lodic, or try to predict whatever pivot he's going to go into, because if I get the Recover off of my Lodic, he gets a free switching into the possible answer that he may have. So that's the good coverage with Tapu Fini that I'd be expecting. And it can basically take on my offensive threats unless I'm capable of setting up against Fini, and then that's where it's a problem for him. And then next up, the typical Adamant Life Form Mamo, the best Mamo in my opinion. Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Ice Shard knockoff with the thick fat. Stealth Rock, he just needs the hazards against my team, and it's the most viable option for him to bring this week in my opinion on Mamoswine. Earthquake just for the amazing stab and coverage. I have Ice Shard because he needs it just in case I set up with, like, say, Mega Pinsir, and he needs to counter that, because Quick Attack won't one-shot Mamo unless I'm like +4 or something like that with Pinsir. So Ice Shard will definitely give him the advantage there, and then Knockoff, of course, to get rid of an item. He could either run Icicle Crash for more Ice Stab, or he could run the Freeze Dry. The Freeze Dry was just a possibility for my Lodic, but Adamant Earthquake does more than Freeze Dry. A last option could also be Superpower, even though he doesn't really need it. It would only really help him against the Cure in Black if he specifically has this thing to kill my Cure in Black, which is something that I gotta watch out for. And then next up is the main threat. This thing is a killer for sure. Choice Band Infernape. He could run Scarf, but he doesn't really need to, because I have kind of poor speed tiers on my team. Basically the highest being 110 on Raichu, and then the next being Mega Pinsir at 105. So he could easily run just a Jolly Max Speed Choice Band, because Raichu doesn't have a fair matchup against his team. so you can easily do this. U-turn, of course, for the momentum, Flare Blitz for the massive damage, Close Combat for the overall fighting coverage that just destroys my team, and then Thunder Punch for the Milotic. Now he can opt to switch out the Thunder Punch with Mach Punch, which would be helpful in case I have Sand Excadrill. He could also opt for Earthquake, because otherwise he cannot hit the Chandelure. And then next up I have a special defensive Umbreon, a very basic Umbreon set. Of course not carrying that Toxic though, because he does have the Misty Terrain on his side. So leftovers with Synchronize and Foul Play, just because my team is very high in attack stats, so that's very helpful for it. Wish Protect, of course, for the health, and Baton Pass in order for him to get momentum, because I might have to be switching around if this Umbreon stays switching to my special attackers such as Exploud or Chandelure. And then next up, this is probably an possible switch. These next two can easily be switched out. The previous four, in my opinion, feel like definites. I'm bringing I expect a Life Orb Sandrush Stoutland. This is to help him in case I do bring Sand against him. Because it gets pretty good coverage and that speed. It doesn't outspeed Excadrill in its own Sand, but it just puts a hurt on the rest of my team, basically, with its coverage. He's got the Crunch, the Return, the Play Rough, and the Superpower. Crunch in order to hit Marina Cliffs and such. Return for the stab, just like go against Milotic. Play Rough can hit the Chestnut. And the Superpower, of course, to hit stuff like Excadrill, Gigalith, and Kyurem Black. So Stoutland can definitely be a problem, but I have a new defensive answer for that I'll be showing. It's a new Pokemon for our team, which is interesting. And then lastly, a defensive Dusclops. This is just how I feel like being another possibility, because that Tapu Fini, in my opinion, is definitely coming, because it also stops the chances of Milotic getting Marvel Scale. I didn't mention that yet, though. But he still needs another defensive answer, in my opinion, because a +2 Life Orb, Jolly, Sandrush, Excadrill can one-shot Tapu Fini with Earthquake, which is ridiculous. But Dusclops here can eat those up and then do some. I do have Will-O-Wisp on Dusclops, so that's just a possibility in case of the Misty Terrain running out, because this could be his backup for Excadrill once Tapu Fini is gone, which is a possibility. So if Misty Terrain is gone, then he can get a free Will-O-Wisp on my physical attacking Pokemon, which is important. Shadow Sneak for priority in case of that Mega Pinsir, because I would, of course, have to click Return against this bulky Dusclops instead of Quick Attack. Pain Split for the health regen, which is Dusclops is really the only option besides Rest, and you can't Rest in Misty Terrain. And then, of course, Nightshade just for good, consistent damage. And then next up for my team, I'll first introduce the new team member, which is, just like his parents, we dropped Kevin, but we picked him back up. We dropped Togetic and we picked up Bronzong. Bronzong's a very reliable Pokemon that I just felt like I needed for these next few weeks. There's a few threats that I need to take care of. And Togetic just, even though it's bulky and gives me great Cleric and it's a Defog, I never got around to using it because so many things can easily come in on it, and then I'm not capable of really switching around it. Downsides to this is, one, technically losing a Cleric, and two, the Defog. I lose Fairy coverage, but that's okay because I gain another strong Steel type. Bronzong is just very reliable. It also gives me another solid Stealth Rocker if I don't want to bring Gigalith or Excadrill for those two to either carry rocks, which is very important. So basically for Bronzong, I'm bringing an important defensive set in order to take on the Mamoswine. So if he does have knockoff, my Colbur Berry eats it up, and then he's not capable of touching me ever again, which is very helpful. This also takes on any possibility in an offensive Roserade. Of course, if he has Hidden Power Fire, then he's going to do some damage to us. But he might not opt to bring that because he doesn't really need it against my team, unless he's prepared for Bronzong with Roserade, which is important. But Bronzong, I have a Gyro Ball for overall damage. This is helpful because this is also a good counter to a Sandrush Stoutland. If he has that, because the Colbur Berry, we can eat the Crunch, and then we can get up a Gyro Ball. That Gyro Ball, since we are negative speed nature and we are so much slower than a +2 speed Stoutland, is going to do so much damage to it, if not KO it. I haven't calced it, but I know it will do plenty. Stealth Rock, of course, because those are going to be important, because Excadrill with a +2 Swords Dance can either... It one-shots everything after +2 Swords Dance except for a max defense Dusclops. So that's important to note. And then Explosion, just to get off his most damage. Normally I would opt to put, say, Toxic or something, but of course the Misty Terrain, so there's no reason in putting it. Zen Headbutt, I just have in case of the Roserade once again, and just for any more damage if I, say, run out of Gyro Balls for some reason or something. I also wanted to put Rest, but the Misty Terrain. So the Misty Terrain's kind of hard to work around, but in the end you can still take care of Fenny pretty early, just because it doesn't get any form of health regen besides the leftovers. And next up we got Excadrill. This thing is going to put in tons of work once I weaken a possible Dusclops and I scout for Mach Punch on an Infernape. Because after that, Excadrill wins the game with a Swords Dance. So I just got to be careful on when I Swords Dance and when I actually know the right time. Because if Excadrill can come in when the Misty Terrain's still up, then I can freely go for Swords Dance against like the possible incoming Dusclops. Because that way he can't Will-O-Wisp me or anything. The most he can do is like a Nightshade. So, or he does have the possibility of being a Chirkroom Dusclops would be weird, but I doubt that. So we got the Swords Dance, Earthquake Iron, and X-Scissor. Since I'm not Mold Breaker, I had to bring X-Scissor in order to hit that Latios. I could opt to bring Shadow Claw, but Earthquake does more than Shadow Claw anyways against like Dusclops and Latios if I was Mold Breaker, so X-Scissor actually does more against the Latios. And I'm just going to be clicking Earthquake against the Dusclops. This coverage basically gets us a automatic win against this team after a +2 in Sand. So Excadrill and Gigalith are going to be very important in this match for winning the game. I just need to make sure the rest of my team can set them up for that opportunity. And of course, Gigalith, we have the Smooth Rock. I have more Stealth Rocks because Excadrill wants to make sure I can either weaken the Dusclops, or I don't even have to worry about the possible Infernape having Mach Punch if he feels like he wants to keep using it, since it does a lot to my team. If he wants to keep bringing it in, I just want it to be hurt constantly for that opportunity. So that's why I have Stealth Rock on 2 Pokemon. Also because Finny is somewhat of a solid defogger. I got the Explosion just in case I want to lose Gigalith immediately and get Drill as many turns in that Sand. That's the main reason for Explosion. Rock Slide just for the damage, and then Superpower just in case I need to hit his Mamoswine, his Umbreon, his Aggron, something of the sort like that. And then next up I have the Chandelure. I went with Specs Modest. This is pure power. This I almost went with Exploud. I actually just did a recording where I went with Exploud, but I had to redo it because I wanted to bring Chandelure instead. And the importance is because of Infernape. Unless Infernape has Earthquake, it cannot touch Chandelure. I'm just gonna go to Chandelure once on the Infernape when it comes in, and if he U-turns, then I'm gonna stay in with something the following turn and scout for that Earthquake to see if it's there. Chandelure is gonna do a lot of work versus his team, mainly because his only answer is a Spadef Umbreon. He could, if he brings a Spadef Finny as a possibility, then I just have to click Energy Ball against it, but Umbreon's the safest bet. Even though Specs Fire Blast does 2-shot Umbreon, even with leftovers, and it's a roll with leftovers without Rocks Up, but with Rocks Up it's a confirmed 2-shot with Specs Fire Blast. So I mean, it is a possibility that it just switches hard Finny after a Specs Fire Blast, but even Finny wouldn't want to take too many of those after a switching on Rocks. So Chandelure is going to do a lot. All we need to do is hit the Fire Blast against the Umbreon, which is important. Energy Ball for the Finny, like I mentioned. Psychic for the Infernape. I did want to somewhat bring Scarf, so if the Infernape is banded, we can take care of it. But if he doesn't have that Earthquake coverage, then he can't touch Chandelure at all, which is important to know. And then Shadow Ball for the rest of this tab in case I need to use it. It's also helpful for the Dusclops. And next up, Kyurem Black. This is going to be an interesting set to bring, just to counter the possible Infernape. I got the Choppleberry. This is so I can live any close combat the Infernape wants to go for, and then I kill it the following turn with the Nerf power. That easy. I got Fusion Bolt, of course, for the Tapu Fini, just in case I want to get damage off. If it's because if it's max defense, it can eat 1. I don't know if it can eat 2, because Fusion Bolt's not stab, and I'm not fully attack invested. But then we got Ice Beam for the rest of the coverage, and then Outrage. If Umbreon doesn't go down from Chandelure, which would kind of be the ideal, then Kyurem Black kind of struggles against Umbreon because they can Wish Stall it. So I would hard switch out of there. Plus Foul Play would do a crazy amount to Kyurem. Ideally, if I can't, if Umbreon just proves to be a problem, like if Chandelure's already gone or something like that, then I'm gonna have Kyurem Black just click Outrage and kill it. Tapu Fini will come in and clean me up if it's still alive. But that's the other thing. Once Tapu Fini's gone, I click Outrage and everything dies. Of course, unless he brings the Mega Aggron, which is a possibility, but I just have so many things for Aggron. I don't see it coming this game. So Kieran Black will definitely put in work. I was considering Mega Pinsir, but he has a lot of options of countering Pinsir, so I just decided to go with Kieran Black instead. And then last up, we have the Milotic. I did have leftovers on Milotic, but I opted to switch with Rocky Helmet. And the reason why is if I keep those Stealth Rocks up, and Infernape thinks it can go for U-turn and such against me, then it's gonna regret that, because I do have Chandelure as a possible switch on the Infernape, but Milotic actually works well, because as long as that Infernape can get weakened, one, it doesn't want to come out anymore once it's to a certain point, because he might need it for late game sweep. Two, if it gets weakened to a crazy point to where it's at really low health, it might just die from anything at one point, then it's not really usable for him anymore, and he might not be capable of doing the Mach Punch, which is very important for Excadrill. And so the Rocky Helmet's just very helpful, so that way the Infernape racks damage on it between the 12% rocks and then the Rocky Helmet damage. And if he's a possible Life Orb set, then that too. And Sand if it's up from Gigalith. So I just want that Infernape to go down over time, and that way that's easy to take care of. I have Scald, of course, to hit the Infernape, and just in case the Misty Terrain's gone, I have a chance of a burn on one of his Pokemon. Recover to get my health up, and then Mirror Coat. Mirror Coat I am carrying in order to hit the... in order to hit the Tapu Fini. In case it wants to Moonblast me, that's perfectly fine. It only does like 20 damage to me. Mirror Coat it back. I believe Tapu Fini has similar HP to Milotic, so it would probably do roughly to 35 to 40%. And then I have Ice Beam in case he does bring the Roserade. I didn't really need to bring anything else. I could have opted to put Dragon Tail on Milotic in order to have the possibility of, you know, having Infernape coming back in and taking even more damage and etc. But the possible like Roserade just scares me, because it does do a decent amount to my team once the Bronzong is gone. I mean, Chandelure can somewhat take it on, but I'd rather Chandelure stay somewhat healthy, because there's a good chance he can get rocks up on my side of the field, and I didn't bring hazard removal on Excadrill, so it's just some things I got to be careful of. I could opt to bring the Dragon Tail instead of Ice Beam, but I feel like the Ice Beam just could be more helpful, because if that Roserade is there, it is a possible switch in against the Milotic, because Roserade has a decent Spadef, but it still doesn't want to take a super effective Ice Beam. So it's just stuff you gotta, you know, prep for. So I'm having a decent thought process about this battle. It's just the fact if I can limit Infernape as much as possible, get the rocks up, and get Excadrill to just win this game for me, then we have no problem. Chandelure will put a hole through his team, hopefully at least weakening most of the things for the Excadrill. But most importantly is, in order for Excadrill to win the game, I just need to be able to get a Swords Dance on something, and I have to make sure Infernape doesn't have Mach Punch, and that Dusclops is a little bit weakened, or Misty Terrain's up when I go against the Dusclops. So either way, Excadrill will do plenty of damage versus team. I'll just have to make sure I have plenty of health for the Ice Shard Mammo as well, and then Excadrill just wins the game with that Sand Rush. +2 Swords Dance. Gotta rely on that man this week. Hopefully it doesn't bring any form of weather counter. But that'll be it for me this week, guys. Make sure to watch the battle as well as the UPFC battle for me and Panther. So make sure to sub, like, share. Deuces.